Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Hey, Nevermore, how's it going? Yes, you gotta keep giving me the stink eye. I know you are. Okay, I get it. How you doing, Nevermore? But anyway, everybody, we are back once again with some good old Eden of Grisaia. Hey, Nick, how's it going, buddy? How it be going? I actually didn't cancel this time, which is awesome. Doing alright? Good. I'm doing okay. Just a tiny bit sore, but that's work. Just work sore. My tea is still too hot for me to even do attempt to drink. Doing pretty good. Good. Glad to hear. Ooh. The yawning has started. That didn't take long. Good lord. But we are actually finally really back with some good old Eden of Grisaia once again today. Alright, how many mods did you have in your Hackers Delivery team again? 6, I think? I think I got 6 right now. Yeah, pretty sure it's 6. Alright, what was that? Right, we're back with Eden of Grisaia. When we left off last time, the girls were still trying to figure out how they're going to even help Yuji escape. Coming up with, ideas. Not really the best ones, but they came up with ideas. Until they suddenly got a phone call from a phone that Michiru had on her without her even knowing. It turns out the Kazuki herself is gonna help the girls out because you guys are so far under Ichigai's radar right now. You're not even seen as a threat, so you're the perfect people to do something behind the scenes. So she's gonna try and help them out as best as she can so they can help out Yuji. They kind of understand what she is and that she's, a computer system that can detect threats, monitor threats, all this other stuff. And potentially predict it, and also being used as an AI trainer for the whole system itself. But she's only telling them her name is Thanatos, the name of the system. But when we left off, Amane kind of looked like she might have recognized her voice. I'm also hoping the game doesn't decide to be, make my bitrate go fuck you again. I mean, it kind of looks like it was starting to, but, it did stabilize after a while, so it just is what it is. Let's get to load this up now, just so it's here and ready. Which is weird. Why is it this game that the bitrate wants to be a little fucky? It could actually literally just be the internet itself somewhat. But, I mean, it doesn't affect anything else, so I don't know. I did do a restart. Maybe I'll have to refresh a few things. We're just gonna keep going and hope for the best. If it seems like there's a bit of a delay, just start and pause or refresh the stream, and delay should disappear. If there's like a huge one, a huge one. Been a good 10 hours doing training, ABI grading strategy. I'm at chapter 8 and have 10 mod. Yeah, because mine are all ultimate. My team is all ultimates. Of course, you're gonna have more of them at champion because mine are ults. So they take up a lot more space. Still a little hot. But we good. So yeah, we're going to try to get a little further into Grisaia for today and see where it takes us. So yeah, and hopefully we don't get any... Oh, actually, it's Grisaia. I'm going to get some kind of big major plot twist all the time. Hopefully it doesn't happen right away. Because Lord only knows it could happen right away. So, I guess we shall proceed. Oh, also, By the way, before I go completely into it, I'm just going to mention it a little bit now, but I'll go into it more at the end. I am going to have to change the schedule ever so slightly this week. The end of the week, the very end of the week. So just forewarning you guys now. The very end of the week is going to be a slight change to schedule. Okaladoke. Okaladoke. I will at the very least say it will not affect the Eden of Grisaia streams. It won't affect the Eden of Grisaia streams for the rest of this week. Are you No, I'm not playing Hacker's Memory. I'm not changing it suddenly to be Hacker's Memory. I'm sorry, Nevermore. Something else came up. Something came up that I'm sure you and everyone in chat will say, yeah, that's understandable. Totally understandable. Yeah. All right. Oh my god, you're with the stink eye. You know, you keep sending those stink eyes. You may want to get it checked out, because it shouldn't be hanging around, for a month. Yeah, still too hot. The sun rose on the first day of their rebellion. The hell was that? Royalty-free Reverie? I'm pretty sure that's, public domain, maybe? I'm pretty sure you can use Revelry if you want. I doubt militaries are gonna have that copyrighted for just the military. I don't know. I could also be wrong about that. I mean, it's just a generic song. But whatever. It had been a less than restful night. After drawing lots to determine who was bunking where, they'd crawled into their cots and closed their eyes. But for the most part, they were too worked up to sleep. Oh, right. They gotta be up in the morning because Kazuki's gonna call them back with like a little test to see if she can even really truly trust them and see if they'll be useful. That's right. That's the other thing that happened. That's why their conversation actually ended. She's gonna help them on the provisionally if they can pass her little test. And in the morning, they were aroused by the sudden blaring of a horn. The source of this alarming sound wasn't difficult to locate. Oh god. Komine Sachi, already clad in a black maid uniform, was standing at the prow of their boat behind a traditional big catch banner, playing some sort of trumpet with a remarkable lack of competence. So she's playing it poorly. There. That's my trumpet. None of them exactly slept soundly, meaning their heads were already leaden with fatigue. And the tuneless blaring of that horn seemed like a deliberate attempt to give everyone on board a migraine. Under the circumstances, it was understandable for your brain's language center to seriously malfunction. With a peculiar shriek that could have been interpreted in multiple ways, Michiru leapt out of the small bed she'd been curled up in. Oh, the horn was specifically for Michiru. Probably from all of the gobi you were eating yesterday. That's true.
白いご飯炊いてお味噌汁作ったけど、朝ご飯食べられる？
Oh, I could totally go for some miso soup.
無理かも。っていうか具はボラでしょ。もう当分ボラは顔も見たくない感じ。今朝さっちゃんの自転車借りて市場まで買い出しに行ったから、具はキャベツだよ。
Okay, for a minute there, I wasn't sure if the sound source for the game was still active. Thankfully it was. Thank God. Wouldn't be the first time. Looking back at that Tales of Symphonia stream for over an hour, it was no game audio at all. And that was back in the day where, I used desktop audio for everything. So I had to physically mute the desktop audio source in the mixer to make that happen. So nothing would come through. None of my sounds were separated. They all went through desktop. I'm so glad I changed all that now. Sure, it's a little more complicated, but it makes things so much easier to manage volume-wise. I don't have to constantly change the volume per game as much. Alrighty.
キャベツ。大きめに切ったキャベツをちぎったベーコンと一緒にお鍋で炒めるじゃない？
I don't think oil and grease is a good one.
Banana!
There, nerd, buy yourself something pretty. LOL.
Thank you, Nevermore, for subbing once again for the 9-month resub. Let's go. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And good, I will totally buy myself something pretty, I guess. I don't know. I'll find something. Ah, yes, and good old Frosty. Let's see what Frosty had to say about your resub. Hark, owl of Nevermore, whose name doth sound like wisdom's whisper on enchanted ground. Thou hast bestowed a favour rich and deep, whilst Baron's realm doth secrets softly keep. Thy 10 brave mons with ABI so high do mirror strength beneath a watchful eye. Forsooth, this gift doth grace the barren stage, a patron's pledge writ upon this digital page. May fortune smile upon thy chosen quest, and grant this stream thy favor truly blessed. God damn it, I love that shit. I'm a sucker for the simple rhyming scheme and, you know, the totally old-style English, Shakespearean language. I love that. I love that shit. I am keeping that, like, forever. For resubs. I am keeping that forever. Frosty's so douchey, I love him. That's Shakespearean actor for you. It's also just really fun to read out. Oh, I love Frosty. I didn't bother to check, actually, in a while if I could do, you know, actually change Frosty's settings. I will tempt fate and see if I can. Did they fix it? Frosty, you good? Oh, no, it doesn't look like it's gonna be good, guys. No. Frosty, I don't want a sub right now. Let me keep using it free, you asshole. Like, it doesn't even give me an option to not. Well, it even has an option on here to flexible one-time contribution. The button doesn't work. It makes you want to subscribe monthly, so that's like kind of ass. You know what? Be perfectly honest, guys, it might actually be worth it. So it sucks right now that I can't change shit. Like, it really sucks that I can't change what everything is, but actually, hold on. Let's see if there's anyone talking about it. Frosty Tools can't change settings. Alright, Frosty Tools won't open dashboard. Let's go with that. Yeah, it's gotta be fairly new. Let's say the past week. Okay, that didn't work. Anytime. We'll see. We'll see about it. Okay, well, we'll just continue the game at least. I'll figure that out later, if I can. And now they're gonna say how you make cabbage miso soup.
あとは合わせ味噌を溶かしてもう一煮立ちさせながら溶き卵をぐるぐるして入れれば完成。なんか美味しそう。ポイントは煮る前に炒めること。一度炒めるとキャベツの青臭さが消えるし、ベーコンと炒めるとコクが出るでしょ。お鍋で炒めてるところへお出汁を入れるから水溶性のビタミン U も逃がさない。あんた昨日揚げ物食べ過ぎてたし、胃のムカつきに効くかと思って。
And that is why Amane is like a perfect housewife.
それって効果あるの？さあ。
Okay, maybe.
さあって。でもほら、とんかつの付け合わせって必ず千切りキャベツじゃん？いつ胸焼けにはキャベツってお母さんに教わったし、効くんじゃない？じゃあ食べてみる。
Cabbage is good.
白いご飯はいる。っていうかおかずは？
Girl, you had a fuck ton of fish. Just eat your cabbage miso soup and eat your rice and let your stomach settle. Don't worry about fucking sides.
お味噌汁がおかずだよ。朝から野菜をたっぷり食べましょう。待ってて、今温め直してあげる。なんかさ、おまねって本当お母さんだよね。
We have Callum. Oh my god. I mean, I would totally smash a plate of calamari rings, but Jesus, they had a night of fried fish. Let's not add more fried stuff in the morning. Except for lunch, so much stuff to do. Just stop by to do the usual. Stink eye, Kelly nerd, resub, make back later. Depends. I get it. I totally get it. No worries. Excuse me. No worries. Yes, we all agree. Baron is an idiot. I am indeed an idiot. Yeah, no worries, Nevermore. If you gotta dip out, that's all good. It's all good. Do what you gotta do. I get it. Life do happen.
ご飯作ってくれる人はみんなお母さん？まあ私がいれば少なくとも飢えなくて済むって程度だよ。それに比べてこの私の役立たず感ったらどうなのよ。なんか私何の役にも立ってない。
Machina drew on her eyelids. Oh my god. she drew on her face. Okie doke, Nevermore. You hopefully have a good rest of the day. Or night. It's night for you. Yeah, it's night for you. I'd have to look back at the VOD. Were the, colored eyebrows always there?
いや、ごめん。でもさ、真面目な話。やっぱあんたいないと寂しいし。これだけ女の子がいれば、そういう子も一人は絶対必要なのよ。そういうもの？そういうものよ。はい、ほかほかの白いご飯とお味噌汁。ありがとう。いただきます。
After gorging herself on fish the previous night, she spent some time laying awake in bed, fighting the urge to vomit. Yeah, no shit. How much fucking fish? Like crap ton of goby and then an entire mullet? That they got out of a river? Oh, I know, damn it. Oh, it's itchy. But with steaming bowls of white rice and miso soup sitting in front of her, her stomach seemed to forget the trauma it undergone not long ago. Taking the larger bowl in her hand, she brought it to her nose and inhaled the rich scent of miso. Even as she carefully picked a bit of cabbage out of it with her chopsticks, she could feel her mouth watering. I mean, cabbage is good. Like, really, really good. Gotta focus. Focus. After pushing the hot cabbage into her mouth, she put the bowl to her lips and sipped at the broth. And as its comforting flavor filled her body with warmth, she found herself reaching for the rice. Oh my god. Probably a while ago.
だからあんたが最後だってば。さっちゃんは5時には起き出して船の掃除をしてたし、6時にはマキナも起きてランニングに出かけたし。
Okay, she's keeping up with the workout routine that he set for her.
私は4時半に起きて朝の市場に出かけたから。
Of course you were.
なんでそんなみんな早起きなの？ユミコは？榊さんはほとんど寝なかったみたい。一晩中パソコンいじってたみたいよ。そう、グースカ寝てたのって私だけ？
Apparently.
みんな慣れない環境で緊張してるんだよ。3日もすれば慣れて、雷が落ちても目を覚まさないようになるよ、きっと。うーい、あまねー、おスタップが出てきたのよ。
Why do you need a scrub tub?
おスタップ？ああ、洗濯桶のことね。ほら、この船、洗濯機ないし、丘を離れちゃったら銭湯横のコインランドリーも使えないし。
Okay.
どうしようかなって思ってたけど、オケがあればなんとかなるか。オケと一緒に洗濯板も見つけたのよさ。つうかこの船、私たちが買う前に絶対誰か住んでたでしょ。
Okay, that's handy.
船底の倉庫に大概のものは揃ってるのよ。お？つうかチルチル、やっと起きたの？悪かったわね。
Pardon me for living.
別に悪かねえのよ。面白かったし。あ？面白いって？ チルチル鼻ちょうちん出して寝てた。漫画以外でリアルに鼻ちょうちん出してるやつなんて初めて見たのよさ。
Yeah, the snot bubble.
嘘。いや、嘘じゃねえのよ。なんかサッチンがクスクスって笑いながら写真撮ってたから後で見してもらえば。
Yeah, that's a word.
写真撮ってんのよっていうか笑ってないで起こしなさいよ。起こしたのよ。なんかチルチルもう食べられないわよとかベタすぎる寝言言い出して
Oh
軽くイ
man.
ラッとしたサッチンがグーで殴ったのに全然起きなかったじゃんかさ。寝てる私に何してくれてんのよ。まあ修学旅行とかでも最初に寝た子と最後まで寝てる子はいじられるのが運命だし。ねって何よ。
Everybody.
とりあえずご飯食べ終わったんなら顔洗ってきたら。
Yeah, you're gonna want to watch that face, Michiru.
あ、じゃあ私は洗濯でもしようかな。せっかく洗濯機出てきたんだし。
Oh yeah, look at your shitting grin there. It's like, hey, yeah, I'll just go and wash clothes. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna do.
いいわよ。洗濯は私がやるから。え？でもいいのよ。最後まで寝てた役立たずだと思われてもあれだし。それぐらいこの私に任せなさいって。
Oh god, got me with that one.
何よ。さっきから人の顔見て笑うとこ失礼じゃない。なんでもねえのよ。とにかく私やぼよ思い出したから失礼するのよさ。なんなのよ。まあすぐにわかるわよ。何が？とにかく顔洗って歯を磨いてきなさいって。
New eyes, new improvement. Oh my god.
ああそうだ、綺麗な真水は少ないから大事に使って。洗濯するなら川のお水をろ過して使って、飲用水は使わないでね。うん、わかった。
They'd been living under the same roof for some time, of course. But conditions in the houseboat weren't exactly comparable to those in the dorm. Consider this. When you wake up in the morning, the very first thing you see is a snoring doofus just begging to be messed with. Under such circumstances, could any red-blooded young lady resist the urge to entertain herself? Surely not. But of course, when the doofus in question looks in the mirror and discovers what's been done to her, it's hard to know how understanding she might be. That was fast. Every time it does one of those transitions, I'm gonna save. Just to see if we're actually progressing more, and this time wasn't progression, we're still in the same scene. Changing your place of residence doesn't mean that your old habits are going to simply disappear. Case in point, one of the girls had already gone out to see if any nearby convenience stores sold the type of fried chicken she'd grown addicted to. And another was cleaning the area around their boat with a broom, although nobody asked her to do so. Their thought patterns, too, were largely the same as before. Some were excessively cautious, some were overly aggressive, and others were as unpredictable as ever. But if they had one thing in common, it was this. They were all rather wary by nature. These 5 young women had experienced a great deal of betrayal, cruelty, and pain. Trusting strangers didn't come naturally to them. All the more so when the stranger in question was someone they'd never even met face to face. But sometimes exceptions had to be made. as they were learning now. There was a possibility they were being deceived, and if that was the case, they needed to have a plan that could turn that betrayal to their advantage. At present, Sakaki Yumiko's job was to plan for the worst.
おはようございます。タナトスです。
Just as promised, the black cell phone had rung at precisely 8:45 a.m. There was no number on the screen to indicate who the call was from. It was rather frustrating that their sole means of communication was so one-sided, but without a viable backup plan, they weren't exactly in a position to complain.
それで、テストといっても私たちは何をすればいいの？皆さん、サイモン曰くってゲームをご存知？
Simon Says, huh?
あ、なんか聞いたことあるかも。それってアメリカの子供が幼稚園で先生とやる遊びだよね。
Okay, yeah, that's true. Okay. Yeah, that would be more common, probably North American thing than Japanese.
そう、それ。知っているのならちょうどいいわ、松島みちるさん。サイモンは言いました。この携帯を持って指定時間内に指定の座標へ向かいなさい。まあいいわ。その遊びに付き合ってあげようじゃない。もう始まってるわよ。急いだ方がいいんじゃない？
Where's it gonna go?
じゃあ、頑張って。
Ignoring Michiru's startled plea, Thanatos abruptly cuts off their phone call. And before anyone had time to complain, the phone automatically started up a GPS-based compass application. The screen was now displaying their current latitude and longitude, the coordinates of their destination, and a triangular arrow pointing the way, along with a countdown indicating the amount of time they had remaining. Oh my god, you airhead.
とにかくこの矢印が示す方向に向かえってことじゃないでしょうか。直線距離で約2000メートル。残り時間は18分32秒。走らないと間に合わないのよ。
Okay, yeah, 2K in 18 minutes? That feels doable by walking. It should take it. I don't know. I don't exactly clock myself when I walk, nor do I keep track of how much of that distance is. Oh well. Fucking run, you dumbass!
直線距離で2キロということは、道に沿って走る実速では3キロを超えるわね。多分松島さんの足じゃ間に合わないっていうか、絶対に間に合わないんじゃないかしら。大変、マキちゃん追いかけないと。ちょっと待って。迷ってる時間ないよ。私も行く。だからちょっと待ってってば。リレーだよ、リレー。いざとなったら電話だけでも指定の座標に到着してればいいんでしょ。確かにそうだけど、ね。
Well, it was Simon Says for Michiru, not the rest of them. Possibly. Developing better communication skills had never been a priority for Sakaki Yumiko. But now, her clumsiness in that department was proving to be a significant problem. Especially at times like this, where every second counted. Running to the goal just wasn't going to work, but Matsushima Michiru had rushed out of the boat anyway. When placed under pressure, she tended to be simple-minded and impulsive. Once Michiru ran off in a panic, Makina and Sachi had reflexively followed her, failing to assess the situation. Compensating for their lack of individual ability by splitting up the task wasn't a damn it. Blech. It's way too fast. Let's try it again. Compensating for their lack of individual ability by splitting up the task wasn't a bad idea, but Amane had left without really thinking it through. That was rashness, plain and simple.
そして私も早速指揮能力不足が露呈してしまったわね。
All she needed to do was remind Michiru that they had a perfectly good bicycle. But those simple words hadn't made it out of her mouth. And she'd been too flustered to point out that a relay approach wasn't going to work, given that everyone would be running from the same starting point. A bit belated, she considered trying to contact them to explain all this. But her personal cell phone was currently missing its battery and SIM card, so there wasn't much to be done. In the chaos of war, platoons sometimes went into battle without realizing that they'd grabbed a defective radio for their unit. Perhaps this is how it felt to be an officer shouting uselessly into his transceiver, unable to warn his men that they were charging into a trap? The analogy sent a chill down her spine. In an actual combat situation, mistakes like these would have grave consequences. Yep. Big time.
無軌道につらつらと考えているぐらいなら、私自らが自転車に乗って追いかけるべきよね。
True. This sounded logical enough, but she needed to think it through first. Come to think of it, when exactly was the last time she'd actually ridden a bike? Thinking back, she had the distinct sense it had been in the garden of her family's home when she was 6 years old. Her kiddie bike didn't have any training wheels, so she might be able to ride one in a pinch. It was hard to say that she felt especially confident, though. There was a very real possibility that she'd end up crashing and injuring herself. I'm not words. We're just use them, Baron. You really do never forget to ride a bike. You really don't forget how to do it. You cannot ride a bike for a while, and sure, you might be a little rusty, not go as fast, or, you know, be as stable, but you still know how to ride it just instinctively. Because instinctively, you just want to keep yourself balanced. It's actually fascinating. Holy crap. Yeah, just literally instinctively, you know how to keep balanced after you learn to ride a bike. Like, I could probably hop on a bicycle right now, no problem. It's been literally years. Imitating Kazumi Yuji's surprisingly handy verbal tick, Yumiko looked around her. Her gaze soon settled on the boat's coffee maker. With a small burble, and the last bits of brown liquid had just dribbled down into the pot. Okay, dripped. I just made up a whole bunch of fucking words there. I just added onto it. Huh? She had to admit it was a sorry excuse for a decision. But it wasn't like they were going to lose their lives if they failed Thanatos' test, and it was often preferable to be somewhat underestimated. As Yumiko took a mug and poked her head into the fridge, having skillfully convinced herself that her idleness was justified, Michiru, who'd shot out of the boat like a human bullet only minutes before, was already reaching the limits of her endurance. Oh no. She had been known to refer to herself as Michiru-sama, the Supreme Sprinter. Everyone else tended to prefer Matsushima the Hare. The girl definitely had raw power. She was good at most forms of anaerobic exercise, and nobody at Mihama could beat her on the short-distance dashes. That said, she could only sprint for about 400 meters at a time. Whenever the distance was greater than that, Michiru would rapidly run out of gas and eventually end up completely immobile. Today proved no exception. Although she'd set off at a vigorous pace, Michiru was soon breathing heavily, and by the time she'd reached the 1 kilometer mark... Yeah, she's a sprinter, not a long-distance runner. Great, they're all gonna throw up now. Oh, you guys have no stamina for this. You can't do it. We are searching technical difficulties. Please step up. Get a better look at that. Thank you for the boy. God damn it. Please stand by. I gotta hear her say that all again. Oh, that's amazing.
朝に食べたお味噌汁全部出ちゃいましたね。
Oh no, Sachi, don't say you're a sympathetic puker.
チルチル死んじゃうの
Okay, good. None of them are sympathetic pukers.
でしないいから早くこれ持ってちょっとあんたたちこんなとこで何やってああまねどうしようなんかチルチルが形容しがたい惨状にあれは入っちゃったか急に走るからだよっていうかあんた内臓弱いな
Weak stomach, weak heart, weak will. No, she proves she has a strong enough will. Weak spine, because she backs down very easily when a Yumiko's involved. I want to know why. So badly.
みちる様は消化器官が弱くて食べ物を上手に消化できないからいくら食べても太らないんですねインナーマッスルが貧弱で側筋ばっかりだから持久力がないのよ顔が丸いのも基礎代謝が低いせいだろこれさよね顔関係ないでしょ
Oh my god.
ってみちる観察してる場合じゃないでしょ急がないと時間ないよとりあえず携帯を指定座標に持っていかないと
Thank you for clipping that.
多分一番足が速いのってマキちゃんだからマキちゃんお願いうっしゃ任しとけうりゃ
Did she even take the phone?
私もみちる様を埋めたら後から追いかけるから埋めないでダメだ私ももう限界相当していい
Like the anchor of a relay race, Makina snatched the cell phone from Michiru's grasp and set off in the direction the arrow indicated. Under Kazumi Yuji's direction, she'd regularly run laps around the circumference of Mihama Academy, a distance of about 3 kilometers. She knew how to approach the task at hand. Instead of rushing forward, she set a regular pace and conserved her stamina. Before too long, she'd reached the park that was her destination, and as she was catching her breath, the phone in her hand began to ring. If it wasn't for the difficulty scream, I think he'd have the rainbow puke. I was picturing rainbow puke. just Aqua puking her guts out of a bar. Just that kind of puke.
こんにちは、タナトスです。オス、オラマキナ。
Oh my god.
絶対見てくれよな。
Don't touch that dial.
ノリいいなあ、タナトスさん。なんかちょっとあんたのこと好きかも。お遊びはもういい？何はともあれ、間に合ったようね。おめでとう。松島みちるはどうしたの？
No, she's puking her guts out.
チルチルは途中でぶっ倒れてヘドまき散らしているのよ。サッチンはもうすぐ追いつくと思うけど、あまねえはパイオツでかくて走るの苦手だから、どっかで座り込んでっかも。榊由美子は来なかったのね。あれな、由美ちゃんは走るの大嫌いなお座敷犬みたいな女だからな。仕方がねえのよ。そう。じゃあ時間もないし、次の問題ね。
Oh, great. Telling the problem to Machina of all people?
マジでか。サイモンが言いました。現在時刻は7時17分。止まった時の鐘の下。
Beneath the bell where time has stopped.
なんつった？座標は？ヒントはそれだけ。急がないと次の制限時間まで残り20分を切ってるわよ。頑張って。
Beneath the bell that time where time has stopped. Huh? Is it like a church bell or something on display? The present hour? 7:17. Was that AM or PM? Checking the time on the digital pet hanging from her waist, she found that it was currently 9:12 a.m. $7:17, the bell where time has stopped. First, she'd been forced to run like a maniac. Now she'd been handed some ridiculous riddle. It was tempting to hurl the phone in her hand down to the ground. Then again, right now, every movement she took was probably being observed by their smug new friend as part of the evaluation process. It was frustrating, to be sure. But at the end of the day, agents like her were always just pawns in someone else's game. With a small sigh, she let her anger dissipate. It wasn't... Oh, it started the ad break. I thought a new message popped. It's... Like, when I hear bell, the first thing I think of is, like, the church bell, like, in the background. But why 7:17? The current time was 9:13 a.m. The more anxious people grow, the more frequently they check the time. And according to Kazumi Yuji, Makina's teacher, nobody's as useless as the guy who spends half his shift looking at the clock. She understood that getting flustered wasn't going to get her anywhere. But even so, she couldn't help glancing down at her watch repeatedly.
りのまま今起こったことを話すのよ。
We got a new riddle. She'd made it on time, yes, and received new directions. But unfortunately, they were all but incomprehensible. As Machina carefully repeated Thanatos' riddle word for word, Sachi tilted her head quizzically and blinked in confusion.
どういう意味？それがわかんねえから無駄に苛立ってんのよ。何かのクイズとか？問題にすらなってねえのに。
Right now, Thanatos' directions were like their marching orders. But orders generally need to have some kind of verb, and she'd only been given a vaguely descriptive hint. The when, where, who, what, and how had all been omitted entirely. They had no real specifics to work from.
いつに関しては時間制限もあるし、残りはあと17分。どこでは指定された座標があるんだし、ここでってことだよね。誰がは携帯を持っている人間が？
Okay, working it out.
でもタナトスさんはミチル様に指令を出したんじゃ。ミチル様だけに意味がわかるキーワードが含まれてるとか？チルチルに電話して聞いてみっか。
She doesn't have her phone. None of you do.
電話って言っても私たちの携帯は SIM カードとバッテリーを抜いたままだから使えないよ。そっか。タナトスさんにもらった電話が使えてもかける相手の携帯が使えなきゃ意味ないか。それにタナトスさんが言ってたでしょ、うかつに携帯電話は使っちゃダメだって。
True.
敵地にて通信途絶、自己判断能力が試されているというわけか。せめてユミちゃんと相談できれば。あいつこういう頭使うの得意なのに。
As they looked around the area, trying to devise some sort of solution, a nearby object caught Sachi's eye.
公衆電話、マキちゃん、公衆電話があるよ。
Oh, they're just gonna use it to call?
いや、だからさ、チルチルもユミちゃんも他の人は例えば学園長とかハルデラさんとか、いきなり意味不明な電話をするのもあれだけど、何かヒントをもらえれば。
Retrieving her wallet from the pocket of her maid uniform, Sachi fished out a few coins. But just as he reached out for the payphone, it abruptly began to ring. Much like Professor Pavlov, who developed the unfortunate habit of feeding his dog every time he heard the sound of a bell, she couldn't help but pick up the phone and answer.
もしもし。人に頼るのは反則よ。自分たちの努力でどうにかなさい。タナトスさんから。こちらの行動が読まれているか、どこかから監視されているのかな。
Oh, she's 100% fucking...
怒られちゃったよ。
She's 100% watching. Hell, she's probably... Actually, she's 100% be listening through the phone. As of this moment, it was entirely possible that Thanatos has already made a note of Sachi's inability to think for herself and Machina's tendency to freeze up under pressure. From Thanatos' perspective, whether they successfully completed this problem probably wasn't that crucial. More than anything, she was testing how they approached it. It was a bit like one of those exams where you'd get 0 points for a correct answer if you didn't show your work properly. I still think that's kind of bullshit. I do like some of the teachers I had just like throughout high school and stuff, and even into college a bit. That was more in high school where if you put just the right answer down, okay, sure, you'll get full marks for that. That's alright. But if the answer is wrong, you get no marks for that. If you show your work, and get the wrong answer, you'll get part marks because you'll see if you were using the right process, just maybe put a wrong number somewhere. That I like. You use the right process but got to the wrong destination. So you get some marks for that. You're on the right track. Yeah, what the hell is 7:17? The bell where time has stopped. Right now, they had to calm down and really think this through. Machina forced herself to take a long, deep breath.
残り時間は
Probably like 15, 16 minutes. Machina reached down to her digital pet once more. Sachi, who didn't wear a watch, reflexively took out her cell phone, although it wasn't much help without its battery. She had come to rely rather heavily on this little device. Apart from functioning as a timepiece, it served as a communication tool, a portable computer, a camera, a TV, and even a wallet. The downside of this exceptionally handy all-in-one machine, however, was that losing it left her inconvenienced in any number of ways. Was there a clock somewhere in the area, perhaps? As she looked around the park, Sachi happened to glance up, and after a moment, her eyes went wide. Okay, so it is going to be the bell in the church there. When Machina looked over, she found Sachi pointing toward an old church that stood adjacent to the park facilities. There was an old clock on the building's tower just below its sizable bell. Its hands were frozen in place, displaying a time of 7:17. Okay, it's the church.
現在時刻7時17分。止まった
There you
時の
go.
鐘の下
There you go.
きっとあれのことなのよさ。つうかそのまんまじゃん。なんで気づかなかったんだろう。
So you're too worried about being, too worried about everything, blowing it out of proportion.
多分冷静に周囲を観察できているか試されたんだろうね。とにかく行ってみるのよさ。
The door to the house of God is never locked to anyone, even sheep who've strayed from the flock. It had probably been decades since this building last served as a house of worship, judging from the chaotic jumble they found within. Naturally, there was no power. Flipping the light switch accomplished nothing. In the light that filtered in between the boards on the windows, the inner walls were faintly visible. They were covered in spray paint graffiti that was difficult to decipher. It seemed clear that this place had come to serve as something of a hideout for a group of rebellious younger people.
どっかに上に出られる階段とかない？
One toward the back?
マキちゃん、こっちに階段があ
Oh, there
る
you go.
よ。多分これで屋根裏に上がってそこから屋根に出て時計塔に登るんじゃないかな。階段っていうかはしごじゃね？
Correction, my day is doing so good. I'm going to Ooh, going to convention. Let's go. Love that. Love the conventions. Love going to conventions. I still got a month to go before I get to go to a convention. Just counting down the days.
私が先に登るからマキちゃんは後からついてきて。サッチ、ライト持ってる？小さいのしかないけど大丈夫。
After carefully climbing the steep, creaky staircase, they did indeed emerge into an attic of sorts. Moving her small circle of light around the room, Sachi found that it was full of empty beer cans and cigarette butts. The delinquents had evidently invaded this space as well. The push door leading up to the roof had been left half open, presumably to keep the room ventilated for the smokers. By clambering through that, she would most likely gain access to the clock tower.
屋根に出たよ。時計塔の釣り鐘の下だっけ。おーい、サッチー。なんか見つけた。黒い箱がある。汚れてないし、まだ新しいから、最近置かれたものだと思う。
That's probably what you're looking for. More than likely. Oh, I had an unstable event for a little bit. Huh. Well, it was briefly and it's fixed itself, so... Alright. Happens.
どんな箱？開けてみようぜ。待って。なんかね、すごく嫌な予感がする。
Why do you have a bed?
なんだよそれ。私も今そっち行くのよ。待って、来ないで。箱の上に手紙みたいなものがテープで貼られてるから、とりあえずそれを読んでおいてよ。
Okay. Generally speaking, a bad feeling is actually the result of your unconscious mind reacting to a number of subtly negative phenomena. For many people, they're triggered by silly superstitions. A shoelace breaking as you leave the house, or a black cat crossing your path. But once you've experienced a certain amount of danger, your ability to sense that something's genuinely awry grows far more reliable. With the expression of someone watching a malevolent feline slinking past, Sachi slowly approached the box, retrieved the envelope taped to its lid, and opened it. Dismantle this bomb within the time you've been allotted. Kazuki, holy shit. Its contents were, unfortunately, exactly what she'd feared. For a moment, the world seemed to lurch around her. Gravity was pulling her in every direction at once. On the lid of the box, below the letter she'd just removed, was a countdown displaying the remaining time in segmented numbers. They had 7 minutes and 16 seconds left. Furrowing her brow and biting down on her lip, Sachi drew a quick, sharp breath through her nose, then turned the pockets of her skirt inside out. It's sometimes said that a woman's skirt pockets are full of mysteries. But these particular pockets were stuffed with what Machina called Sachin's secret tools. They made something of a racket as they clattered to the ground. Bomb. Bomb. Not freak out. Why? With a dramatic flourish of her skirt, Sachi lowered herself to the ground. Her eyes were fixed on the small black case before her. There were a total of 6 screws holding the upper plate in place. All of them could be removed with an ordinary No. 2 Phillips screwdriver. But when she looked more closely, she realized that one of them was sticking up slightly out of its hole. This was a very common trap. The one loose screw was almost certainly reverse-threaded. Turning it to the left would tighten it, bringing it into contact with a switch that would set off the bomb. Given the presence of this mechanism, it was safe to assume that the other 5 screws were also potentially dangerous. For the time being, she decided to stick the blade of her flat-headed screwdriver under the lid right beneath the loose screw. Prying it open slightly should allow her to peek inside. After a moment, she stopped and blinked in surprise. The gap between the box and the lid was sealed tightly with black silicone.
つまり光センサー式の起爆装置か。
Huh.
もしくはガスが封入されていて、蓋を開けて箱の中に光が入ったり、ガスが抜けて気圧が変わると爆発する仕掛けかな。
In the latter scenario, there wasn't much she could possibly do. With a gas-based mechanism, you couldn't even cut a tiny hole in the box and slip in a microfiber scope to see what was inside. There were only two real ways to dispose of a bomb like that. Either you worked in an airtight chamber where you could slowly equalize the atmospheric pressure inside and outside the box, or you gave up and detonated it remotely.
バルーンを使って気圧操作しようにも、そんなもの持ち歩いてないし、持っていたところで箱の中の気圧を調べるための密閉ドリルがない。
Sachi did have a toolbox containing specialist equipment of that sort, but given its extreme weight, she'd opted to leave it behind in her locker at the Mihama dormitory. Oh, great. So even the one who's got something for every occasion doesn't have the things she needs right now. Of course she has a bomb-resistant maid outfit on.
死ぬなよ。約束できる？うん、大丈夫。約束するよ。約束破ったら地獄まで追いかけてパンツむしり取って泣かしてやるのよ。
Oh my god.
わかった？大丈夫。信じて。うむ。じゃあ頑張れ。
Machina clearly wasn't happy to go. If anything, the look on her face suggested severe reluctance. But after a moment's hesitation, she placed the curtain on the floor and scampered back down into the church.
信じてとは言ったものの、これはどうしたものか。
Before anything else, she draped the thick curtain Machina had brought over the box. From this point forward, she'd be relying mainly on her sense of touch. Given that a letter had been taped to the box, it was reasonable to conclude that there weren't any electrostatic sensors on its surface. Simply touching it wouldn't set off the bomb.
残り時間は5分弱。箱の大きさから考えれば200メートルも離れれば十分だと思うし、残り時間が3分を切った時点で手に負えないと思ったら諦めて全力で逃げよう。
Fair enough. Slipping her hands underneath the curtain, she began reaching out to tap gently on the lid of the box. As a general rule, vibration sensors were oriented downward because of the Earth's gravity, making them slightly less sensitive to vertical impacts. Repeatedly tapping the lid with her fingers, she looked for places where the sound seemed hollow, and selected one of them as the point where she'd drill her hole. Once this was done, she'd cut herself a bit of tape about 5 centimeters in length, temporarily placing it next to the spot where she'd be drilling. If gas began to escape through her hole, she'd use this to cover it up before the air pressure inside the box changed too drastically. Okay, she's covering her ass big time, because, I mean, she's trying to dismantle a bomb.
できれば液体窒素で処理してからが良かったんだけど。
But you don't have liquid nitrogen on hand. She didn't have any on hand. And these days, some bombs had backup sensors that would react to sudden drops in the temperature. Pushing these thoughts from her mind, Sachi brought her drill to the box's lid, positioned it carefully, and began to turn the handle. She worked slowly, carefully, and as quietly as possible. If gas began to escape from the hole, she'd have to move quickly to apply the tape before the bomb exploded. A small leak shouldn't be fatal. The volume of gas inside would naturally change as the temperature outside fluctuated, so a hair trigger sensor wouldn't be practical. Soon enough, she completed a tiny hole in the aluminum case, less than 0.1 millimeter in diameter. That's like thinner than a gnat's ass hair. Jeez. There was no sign of anything escaping through it. Apparently she didn't have a gas trap on her hands. As she exhaled in relief, Sachi could feel sweat pushing its way out of her pores. She wasn't out of the woods yet. It could still be equipped with geomagnetic, vibration, thermal, or light sensors. Geomagnetic and vibration sensors could easily set a bomb off prematurely. If they were present at all, the settings would probably be rather lax. As long as you didn't pick up the box or start kicking it around, there shouldn't be a problem. Also, the box was black, meaning it absorbed and released heat quickly. And in the course of drilling into it, she'd confirmed that it wasn't insulated. She could probably assume that it wasn't equipped with a thermal sensor that could react to the heat of a human body. Okay, and that explains the blackout curtain she put over top of it. She puts the blackout curtain over top of it, no light's going to get in to potentially set that off. Hey Jen, how's it going? I think add quote is all one word? Pretty sure it's all one word. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, thank you. How you doing, Jen? I know that my phone just auto-corrected. You damn phone. Boo. Like the other types of sensors, overly sensitive photodetectors could be risky and required you to take great care when transporting your bomb. You'd usually give yourself a margin for error. In other words, brief exposure to relatively dim lights probably wouldn't trigger a reaction. That said, how would she have done things if she'd been the one planting this device? Good, kids are sick and in bed an hour earlier than normal, so I'm finally able to catch a stream. Oh, I'm sorry the kiddos are sick. I'm glad you're able to stop by a bit. Yeah, hope the two of them are feeling better soon. It happens, but thanks. Yeah, that's kids for you. How many times my nieces are sick? Wrap that later. So to kind of briefly catch you up in what's been going on so far with just all of Eden of Grisaia, Yuji's in custody, being blamed for a terrorist plot. In reality, they're using him as a bargaining chip to give to another terrorist so he doesn't take the computer system that can let him hack everything. The girls have run away from, well, they basically left the academy they were at because it was closing down and have decided they want to try to help Yuji. They're just not sure how to really do it because they're pretty much on their own. Said computer system, which is also, this big spoiler here, Yuji's older sister that he's presumed dead for years is actually part of this system and living in it now, I guess. Has contacted the girls to maybe have them help in helping free Yuji and saving herself. So she's testing them. First, it was get this cell phone to a specific location within 20 minutes. Then it was find, basically find a specific spot using a kind of coded clue. The present hour is 7:17 under the bell where time has stopped, which was a church bell. And they got to the church bell, and there's a bomb, so now they gotta dismantle it, and they have, like, less than 7 minutes. So they're doing all of this right now to prove themselves to Yuji's computer sister that they can be useful in helping. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, Grisaia itself is just ridiculous. I mean, come on. One of the goddamn one of the actual routes had Yuji make a guy, pedal to the metal his imported Italian sports car so he could huck a frozen turkey into the engine of a private jet plane just so he could fucking get on board the damn thing and save somebody. More minutes than Justin Timberlake and Madonna had to save the... I'm totally out of the loop with that, but it's me. I don't know things, I don't see things, I do nothing. I'm always just blank. So let's see how the wonderful, dutiful maid, who's wearing a fucking maid outfit that is apparently bomb resistant. I gotta learn to stop questioning Grisaia. I gotta learn to stop questioning Grisaia. They had a song called 4 Minutes. Oh, okay. Okay, that scene was really, out there, wild, but I still loved it. Just hucking a frozen turkey into a jet engine to disable it. It's one hell of a bird strike. Sounds legit. Who doesn't have a frozen turkey lying around? Yeah, Yuji was lucky this guy was going to a party and had the turkey in his trunk. God. Oh, Grisaia is wild as hell, but I love it so much. Trunk turkey. And don't worry, if you lose it, there's also a spare in the back. Did I tell you I watched the anime? I think you did. I think you did tell me.
Let's game! Make the game! What's the game? What's your name? I'm a Kamen Rider.
Okay. Okay, 'twas forever ago. Time flies. Like, it really flies. Like, holy shit. Okay, because you used the sound alert, I remember this now. I'm really super excited for Anime North because I already saw all the confirmed photo shoots they have on the schedule, because that gets confirmed first, shockingly. They're having a Tokusatsu photo shoot again. Hopefully it's not like the last time it happened, where like 5 of us show up and the person who, wrote their name down to plan it didn't even show up. So I'm excited for that. I can get some good old pictures again. Just a month. One more month. And it was not great. This spent more time on the characters I didn't care about, but I did appreciate the Field Trip of Horrors arc. Was that the bus crash? Ah. That takes so goddamn long in the visual novel to get through. Like, oh my god. Oh, yeah, then you know exactly who Yuji's sister is. It's the sister that died on that bus trip. Supposedly died on that bus trip, because now she's a computer. Yeah, you know exactly who his sister is. I have not touched Nightbot in so long. I haven't added or removed any commands from Nightbot in so goddamn long. Oh, yeah, speak thy name and it appears again. That is what it is. I gotta try to get back to this. People becoming computers. Have either of you seen Pantheon, the Anthem animated show? Nope. But is that a surprise for me? No. I don't see things. Yeah, no surprise there. Oh god. Nodding to herself, Sachi shined her flashlight in through the small hole she drilled in the lid of the box. In response, something within began to beep a faint but unmistakable warning. When she lowered the intensity of her light, the tone of the sound shifted as well. Alright, so she was smart to use the blackout curtain. I think that's right up your alley. It's got cool questions about humanity, AI, etc. Okay. Add that to the list. Just so I don't forget about it. On Netflix? Perfect. Perfect. Alright, makes it easy to find and watch then. Oh my god, yawning. Okay, you talked me into it. I'm watching it. That was fast. Also, if you watch it, let me know if it reminded you of Mirai Nikki at all. Okay. Being reminded of Mirai Nikki. Or Madoka? What? There's gonna be some suffering in this one then, isn't there? There's gonna be some suffering. Just in case, she tried using an infrared light as well, but a different sensor reacted audibly. Okay, so she literally has to use only her sense of touch to deal with this now. There were 3 minutes left. If she was going to run, it had to be now.
どこまでやれるかわからないけど。
She'd come so far already that backing down was no longer an option. Leaving the curtain draped over the box, she set about removing the screws from its lid, guided only by her sense of touch. The screws in question were commonplace panheads. Judging by the small punch marks she could feel on their heads, they were made to the international standard. Holy hell. Carefully bringing her screwdriver to bear, she began by removing the screws that turned to the left. Those that didn't turn left, she turned right instead. You mean you don't turn them sideways? One of them refused to budge either way. It was a dummy. She ground down its head with her drill, then snipped it with her wire cutter once it was sufficiently weakened. She used the same approach on the booby-trapped screw she'd noticed earlier on. Removing the lid would only have taken a few seconds if all the screws had been normal, but the drilling ended up costing her quite a bit of time. After pausing briefly to catch her breath, Sachi pushed her flat screwdriver under the box's lid and slowly pried it loose. A bit of pressure was sufficient to tear the silicone seal holding it in place. And at long last, she had access to the inside. Tracing her fingertips along the various components, Sachi began to map out the structure of the bomb. She had to identify all of the sensors by feel, then cut them away one by one.
これがバッテリーかな。静電源と副電源に予備電源、タイマー用のリチウム電池を入れると4電源。バッテリーから切り離しても起爆回路が一旦オンになるとゲート信号をオフにしてもサイリスタはオンのままになる。発信した電圧はコンデンサに結合されて、サイリスタがオンになるとコンデンサ以降の電圧はほぼ0ボルトになるから、どこから切れば。
Based on what she felt, Sachi tried to piece together a mental image of the circuit. All of the wiring that led from the batteries to the primer, including a number of dummies. But with no time to take notes, it wasn't easy. Everything was getting jumbled up in her head.
こんな時、風見さんがいてくれたら、やっぱ無理でしたって丸投げしちゃうんだけどな。
Yeah, but he ain't here, so you gotta do this on your own. Cutting away all the sensors that connected to the explosive device itself wouldn't take too long. But if she severed the wire harness connected to the main battery, the sub-power system would sense the drop in voltage, activate, and set off the bomb. Before cutting off the main power source, she needed to use an alligator clip as a jumper to create a bypass. And hook up a battery of her own, using a volume dial and crystal oscillator to control the frequency of the current, thereby establishing a temporary circuit that would prevent the system from realizing the main battery had been disconnected. Yep. Yep. Okay. Once this was accomplished, she could safely cut the main wire harness. Even if the sub-power system's reverse circuit activated, the electricity wouldn't reach the detonator. However, with no oscilloscope available to her, she had to control the volume of the signal based solely on her instincts.
電源の規格が決まっている以上は、ある程度は予想がつくけど。
Closing her eyes, Sachi took a deep breath and brought her wire cutter to the thin 0.5mm harness leading to the main battery.
大丈夫。間違ってない。
With a small snip, she cut through the wire. It hadn't exploded. That was a good thing, of course. But right now, she was simply deceiving the bomb into believing that its main power source was still active, with the help of a single 9-volt battery. Unless she used this time to deal with the detonators, the secondary power sources would activate as soon as the timer hit 0 and the bomb would go off. The actual primer was an electrical type, embedded in the explosive material itself. Her only option was to drag out the wires hidden in the bottom of the box, bypass the detonator using resistors, and then cut them off one by one. Taking her drill, Sachi quickly made a new hole in the side of the box, then used a pick she'd made from the spoke of a bicycle wheel to pull out the detonator wires. She just has all this shit on her. Just has all of this stuff on her in these very, very deep maid outfit pockets. She's got a damn near full toolkit just in her pockets. In total, there were 15 different harnesses connected to the transistor circuit and the capacitor. That included positive, negative, and disconnection detection wires. So it was impossible to tell them apart simply by touching them. Mary Poppins approved! Oh yeah. Should definitely approve. 100%. Yeah, maybe not 100%. Sachi is still fallible. I'm Mary Poppins, y'all! And then he died. Oof. After pulling the wires through the new hole, she studied them under her flashlight. Then it connected them to dummy load resistors of various values, isolating the detonators so that she could sever them. With the resistors serving to hide the surge in voltage that followed every cut, she steadily worked her way through the wiring that led to all 5 detonators. Once the detonators were silenced, she could theoretically drop-kick this bomb across the roof without fear of it exploding. But had she overlooked anything? If she had planted this bomb, she would have implemented a backup mechanism that would activate in this very moment of relief. Slowly and cautiously, she double-checked the wiring, but found nothing unexpected. She couldn't feel any extra explosive material in the box's lid or its interior walls either. The classic trick here would be a wire that pulls out the pin of a grenade when you relax and pick up the box, but there didn't seem to be anything of that sort either. As Komine Sachi allowed herself a deep sigh of relief, the countdown timer finally ticked down to 0. Naturally, there was no explosion. There you go. Did you see that, Kazumi-san? Looking up to the sky, she saw her beloved instructor's face, and couldn't help but boast to him. Well, you're not dead, so the bomb didn't go off. Jokes aside, this is a long scene. Yeah, it really was. Shut up. Okay, I don't know if I've ever said it throughout any of Grisaia, but I do like a lot of how they've did Makina's dialogue, how they, what's the word I'm looking for, localized it. Shit like Psha, Dija, and like all these other little short things. Like, it's nice. I like it. It adds more character.
けど、もし私が失敗したらどうするつもりだったの？そん時は一緒に死んでやる。見殺しよりはマシじゃんね。ダッチもねえこん一丁らんで、終わったんならちゃっちゃと降りてこうし。
Excuse me.
マキちゃん、電話。タナトスめー。おーこらー。私らぬっ殺す気か。
あらびっくり。電話に出たということはまだこの世にいるのかしら？
And we could have just thrown it in a river, for all you know.
おめえふざけんなよ。爆弾とかやりすぎじゃねえの？
Yeah, I don't know. Someone who's a computer now probably has lost their sense of morality.
ちょっとしたドッキリイベントじゃない。そんなに怒らなくても。
マキちゃん、これプラスチック爆弾じゃなくてただの粘土だよ。
Oh my god. She just fucked with them. Literally just clay.
これはあくまで能力査定試験よ。本物を使うわけないじゃない。
So they probably could have just thrown it in a river and been fine.
とはいえ、装置自体は本職の人間に作らせたものなのだから、それを解除したことは正直に驚いたし、褒めてもあげましょう。
でも解除できるように作ってあったんですよね。
そうね。解除できる爆弾とそうでない爆弾の見分けがつくかというのも審査の一つだったわけだし、私はあなたの出した結果を高く評価します。
Okay, what's the next test you're gonna give him now?
完全にもてあそばれてるのよさ。
Well, it's Yuji's sister, so yes, that's kind of just their thing. They like to tease and play with people.
箱の中の手紙はもう見つけた？
手紙だ。これかな？あったよ、マキちゃん。
よろしい。ではサイモンが言いました。その手紙を松島みちるに渡しなさい。
Okay, bring the letter to Michiru. She's still gonna be buried into the ground like you just fucking... Oh my god.
まだ続くのかよ。
Yes, Machina. She's only gonna have you go to a park, find a bell in a church tower, and then disarm a fake bomb. That's totally all she needs to rescue her brother, who's being charged for terrorism.
制限時間はちょっと長めの60分。もう時計は動いているわよ。急いで。
Why would they need an hour to bring a letter to Michiru, who they already technically know where they are?
なんだこれ。なんかイライラするのよさ。今すぐ何かに八つ当たりしたい。ものすごく。
Do not kick a puppy or I kick you.
仕方がないよ。急ごう、マキちゃん。
It was frustrating that things weren't going the way she wanted. And it was frustrating to be ordered around by someone who didn't bother to explain things properly. Machina understood this frustration was fundamentally childish, but when no one even bothered trying to coax her, it was hard to accept this kind of treatment. Of course, being a grown-up was all about swallowing your frustration and finding ways to cope with situations you couldn't accept on an emotional level. But in this particular respect, Irisu Machina was still something of a child. Orders from people upstairs were always going to be unfair. If they were fair, there wouldn't be any reason to issue them as orders. Kick rats? I mean, okay. As long as the rats are being a menace. If they're just a rat going about their day, doing nothing, not hurting anybody, not bothering anything, just going about its day, leave it alone. If it's being an active pain in the ass, then we can go ahead and kick it. Might as well quit if you don't like it. No one would stop you. That's just how things are in this line of work. If Kazumi Yuji were here with them, he probably would have told her something along those lines. Clutching the letter they'd found inside the box, Machina and Sachi set off running down the road they'd followed to the church. Their eyes were searching for a certain bottle blonde, presumably lying in a heap somewhere in the vicinity. After nearly shouting themselves hoarse, the two girls finally found the individual they were looking for in a truly piteous state. Oh, she's still throwing up fish and miso. The night before, Matsushima Michiru had gluttonously gobbled down great quantities of fried fish. And immediately after a hearty breakfast, set off running as fast as she could. So it wasn't exactly surprising that she was now lying on her side by the road, steadily spewing out the contents of her stomach. Oh my god, this is my fucking best girl, everyone. The one literally puking her guts out. Ugh. I too can be found in a lump pitiful state. Same. Depends on the day. You were the tummy give you one too many sour jubes. Oh. It feels right in the moment, and then you'll always pay for it, right? It's like, nah, I can just keep going. It's fine. Nothing happening to me. And then you just hate existence. Just absolutely hate existence. Oakley-dokley. Her eyes were glazed and unfocused. Her body was totally immobile. Immobile. Blah, 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 blah. Learn to talk. Don't ask me. She resembled nothing so much as a beached sea mammal. No. This is my best girl, everybody. She's being called a fucking beached whale. God. Amane was standing a few feet away, gingerly poking at her with a stick. Oh no. Oh, as much as that goby tasted good going down, it ain't gonna taste good coming back. Get this girl some mouthwash ASAP. She's gonna need it.
そんなことより間に合ったの？はい、そしてこれが新しい指令です。この手紙をみちる様に渡せとタナトスさんが。ほら、チルチル、しっかりするのよ。
Oh my god. With all the tenderness of an interrogator, good lord, slapping their prisoner awake in the middle of a torture session, Makina pulled Michiru up off the ground and shoved the letter in her face. They'd now received their third mission of the day. Its nature was quite simple. The envelope contained a single map that seemed to have been printed on a photocopier. Someone had circled a part of it in red pen, then jotted a note in the margins of the page. Proceed to the designated location within the time you've been allotted. Oh my god.
いやいやいや、そういうことじゃなくてね。で、うわ、なんかみちる様臭い。
Well, no shit. She's been throwing up fish for the past, 20 minutes.
臭いとか言うな。言われなくても分かってるわよ。入っちゃったんだから仕方ないでしょ。もう。ああ、女の子ってさ。臭いって言われるのは何気に傷つくよね。
True. Very true. Holy Moses.
そう ぜ伝わらないこの思い。恋愛にも似たもどかしさが私の胸を締め付けてるわよ。
God damn it.
それってただの胸焼けじゃん。つか、なんで今さら地図？また携帯で誘導すればいいじゃんね。
I mean, sometimes you're not gonna have a phone.
地図がちゃんと読めるかのテストとか？地図なんて誰でも読めるんじゃん。
You say that.
それを言ったらラリーにナビはいらないって話になるよね。指定場所は山の中でしょうか。ほぼ一本道ですし迷いようがないのでは。
Okay, so that's why they were given an hour. Retrieving a servometer from the pocket of her skirt, Sachi began to move it along the winding road of their map.
現在位置から約40キロ前後の距離と思われます。ああ、私この道知ってるわ。
You know it? Their new destination was over in the next prefecture, separated by a mountain from their current location. It wasn't far from the farm that supplied eggs and chicken to the restaurant Amane's parents ran. For a while, she'd driven out there every morning. At first, those trips had been on the restaurant's motorcycle. After getting her driver's license, she'd taken their mini-truck instead. Day in and day out, in rain and snow, she'd sped out there and back, battling the early bird street racers who'd used it as a personal practice track.
まずいな。ここって電車の駅もなければ、バスも1時間に1本の山の中だよ。タクシーなら間に合うんじゃん？
Do you guys have the money for a taxi that'll go 40 kilometers?
残り時間が50分じゃ、タクシーでも無理じゃないかな。
Given the time you'd lose to traffic signals and such, traveling 40 kilometers in 50 minutes wasn't easy. You'd have to be averaging about 70 kilometers per hour. She could try to head home and borrow a ride from her parents, but given their time limit, it didn't seem too realistic. As Amane racked her brains for a better solution, a rundown store across the street happened to catch her eye. It was a used car dealership with a small sign advertising cars for rent.
そうか、借りるって手もあるな。みんな、お金いくら持ってる？
Yeah, you guys totally have enough money to rent a car.
8200円ですね。
Alright, about 82 bucks.
2800円。
28 bucks, so they got $110.
私は24557円。足りるかな？マキナは？
$134.50. About 56 cents.
ちょっと待ってね。12万6400円？あとはカードになっちゃうけど、カードは多分凍結されてるのよさ。
You just casually carry around over $1,000 in your pocket, huh?
まあ、これだけあれば十分か。
Yeah, I think maybe $1,200 from one person alone might be able to get you to rent a crappy car for a day. Generally speaking, you shouldn't expect too much from a rental car. It's a temporary means of transportation, nothing more. Most places aren't going to bother lending out flashy sports cars or anything. And given the greater cost of insuring more expensive vehicles, you'll naturally pay much more for higher performance rides. Also, when you're poking around a sleepy dealership next to the highway that's clearly run by some local landowner's second son as a tax shelter for his dad, there's really no point even hoping for something decent. As Amane looked over the various cars lined up in the lot, it was all she could do to keep from groaning in dismay. Everywhere she turned, she saw ancient hatchbacks and coupes from 20 or 30 years ago. and they were mostly beaters in visibly poor condition.
贅沢は言ってられないのは分かってるけどさ。
Shaking her head, she turned down the prefab hut that served as the dealership building, which turned toward. God damn, learn to fucking read, dumbass me. Intending to ask if there were any functional cars that could drive off in immediately. The lone employee inside, however, appeared to be in the middle of a phone call.
あ、はい。ちょうどお見えになられました。
After glancing briefly through the window at her face, the woman put down the phone and said, "You're Suo Amane, correct?"
お車の代金はすでにいただいておりますので、どれでもお好きな車をお選びください。
Oh! Well, that helps.
はい？え？どういうこと？この状況でレンタカーに目をつけるのはタナトスさんに予想されてたってこと？予想というか、車を借りなきゃクリアできない条件を出したのはタナトスさんなんだし、最初からそう仕組まれてるって感じでしょうか。なるほどね。タナトスさんらしいというか、なんというか。つーかさ、好きなの選べってのはありがたいんだけど。
You got the pick of the lot, but the lot is a piece of shit. None of these old cars look particularly appealing, to be honest. They had plenty of mini trucks, mainly Mazda motor cabs and Nizuki Garys. Not Mazda, Mazda. Mazda. And not Suzuki, Nizuki. A number of sedans, including 4 hardtop Nissan Glodias and a Laurel HT 2000 SGX. Oh my fucking god. And a row of hatchbacks, such as the Mazda Familio XGs and non-turbo Monda City models. God damn it. Where's the board cars and trucks? Where's the board? In other words, there wasn't a single car packing the sort of power they required.
唯一スポーツカーっぽいのはバルサーのミラの X1 か。せめて GTIR だったらな。
You could technically call the X1 a hot hatch, but the X1E variant had a non-turbo OHC 16-valve 1500cc engine, meaning it was basically a car for old ladies. Oh god. Still, it did have 97 horsepower. Although that wasn't anything special, given the car's size, nothing else in this junkyard could really compare. But just as she was about to reluctantly select the X1, Amane sensed something slightly out of place at her side.
Hmm?
The source of this feeling seemed to be a Toyota, not Toyota, Toyota, Jute, sitting next to the Bolser in the hatchback corner.
あれ？このデュエット、もしかして。
God almighty. Could it be a Taihatsu Notoria? She hadn't noticed at first because it was painted dark green, but it looked a bit like...
クロスフォー。
Mud flaps hung loosely behind the tires. She could see a roll cage inside the passenger compartment. The back seat had been removed entirely. Trying to slow her racing heart, Amane circled behind the car, and on its rear end found the X4 logo along with the TRS sticker of the Taihatsu Racing Service. They found a race car. To think I'd find you in a place like this. It felt something like running into a dear old friend at a train station. Almost as if it had been waiting there for years just for her. Overwhelmed by shock and joy, Amane embraced the car with tears in her eyes. Girl, you got a time limit here. Maybe enjoy your car time later. Get in the car and drive. Irritated by the trembling of her own hands, she'd hurriedly filled out the rental paperwork. By the time the woman returned her license and handed her the keys, she'd managed to calm down, at least a little. The Daihatsu Notoria X4, or Notoria X4. To be certain, its endearingly round face and cheap minicar-style interior made it the very picture of an old lady vehicle. But this unassuming appearance belied its true identity. A genuine sports car boasting a 120 horsepower twin-turbo high-boost engine and overall weight of only 140 kilograms. In accordance with the regulations for rally racing cars, its engine displacement came in at a rather unusual 713 cc. But an obsessive focus on keeping the car light, even the air conditioning and audio system were optional, meant it had more than enough power. It was, in short, a micro monster, ideally suited to zipping along mountain roads with lots of tight corners. Oh, good God, whoever has to ride passenger with Amane is going to throw up everything. And its Granny-mobile exterior appealed to its fans, who often covered the seats in white lace to play up the wolf in sheep's clothing angle. Oh my god, yeah, put some doilies on the inside, guys. When she pressed down on the accelerator to see what would happen, the RPM rose only sluggishly, suggesting the engine's turbines were ridiculously large. The numbers kept ticking up slowly, almost as if the fuel mixture was overly rich. But as soon as the engine reached 5,000 RPM, the tachometer needle jumped fiercely upward, and the boost gauge shot up to 2.0 kPa. I forget what kPa is. With a car like this, you wanted to kick the clutch on even the tightest corners. But given how lightweight it was, if you happened to bump into something while turning into the curve, God only knows where you'd end up landing. At the same time, she'd have to make sure not to decelerate or let the RPM needle fall too much. On the uphill curves in particular, there'd be a real danger of the engine stalling if her entry was anything less than perfect. You already agreed, you signed the paperwork, you had a fucking little mini cargasm in here when you saw it. We're using the damn thing. She's just gonna upchuck her entire stomach at this point. I don't know. That clam she's already upchucked it all. There's nothing left. What more could she possibly spew? Welcome back. The answer is bile, by the way. Oh, God, that's not gonna be fun. That's literally just gonna burn.
でみちる様の快諾が得られたところでよろしくお願いします、あまねさん。
With this, Sachi handed over Thanatos' phone, currently displaying an analog stopwatch. The time they had remaining was displayed in a separate counter on the bottom of the screen. Amane promptly jammed it into one of the car's cup holders.
じゃあ行ってくる。ごめんね、人乗せると重くなっちゃうから、とりあえずみちるだけ連れてく。あまね、気をつけるのよ。わかってる。
Nodding to Makina, Amane reached out and started the stopwatch timer.
タイマーがゼロになったらスタートするよ。ほら、ちゃんとベルトした？あばね、私まだお腹の具合が。
Next question was, so did she puke in it? And it was promptly answered. Oh, she's about to. She's about to.
いい加減もう全部入っちゃったでしょ。時間がないのよ。最初はゆっくり行くから我慢して。
Moving the short stroke shifter to put the car in first gear, Amane glanced behind her, then eased her car's round nose toward the main road outside the lot. Flipping on her turn signal, she hit the brakes on the slanting sidewalk ramp. And keeping the car in a sprinter-style leaning whole-shot stance, pushed the engine up toward 5,000 RPM. On the verge of reaching the power band, she paused to double-check the area around her.
後方よし、前方よし、もう一度後方よし。行くよ、みちる。
So my partner's dad flies, like fancy aerial plane doing flips and shit. Oh, damn! That's kind of cool. That's actually really goddamn cool. The dude never told me where the puke bag... Oh, no! Oh, God. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh. That's just like three different levels of feeling bad. Oh. Otherwise, highly recommend, very fun. Oh, yeah, it's an absolute blast. Yeah. Yeah, get those vomit bags ready and make sure they tell ya. Gee.
What? ゆっくり行くんでしょ？ゆっくり行くって言ったよね。
Slow is a relative term. That means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. I'm sorry, Michiru. Enjoy hell.
私とみちるでゆっくりの解釈が少し違うかもしれないね。5、4、3、2。やっぱ降りる。下ろして。もう遅いっての。ゼロ。
Like going quiet on the radio and didn't bother mentioning it, so I had to find the longest 30 seconds of my life. Oh, God. The very instant her stopwatch finished counting down, Amane roughly engaged the clutch. The compact cross-transmission let out a distinctive high-pitched whine. In less than 3 seconds, she'd burned right through first gear. When she released the accelerator pedal and stepped on the clutch, exhaust from the turbines escaped audibly through the wastegate. Quickly moving the shift knob, she stepped down on the accelerator once again, and in no time at all, she'd blown through second gear as well. Oh my god. With a racing cross-transmission like this one, the gap to third gear was wide, but fourth and fifth would come easily afterward. And even when changing gears, the engine kept moving at 7,500 RPM, allowing for steady acceleration.
軽いせいかな。なんかポコポコ跳ねちゃうけど、いいぞ、いける。下ろして。私は行きたくない。
Michiru screamed. The engine howled, and the car rushed down the road, carrying two foolish young women in very different states of mind. Thanatos had instructed them to bring Matsushima Michiru to the designated point within the allotted time. Letting her out clearly wasn't an option. As the city streets flew past outside her window, all she could do was wail in distress. Avoiding traffic lights where possible, Amane steered them through through a series of back roads, eventually reaching the foot of the mountain they needed to cross. There, she stopped the car and got out to examine it. Props to the VA. She's had to do so much throw-up sounds. As soon as the vehicle came to a halt, Michiru tumbled out of it, grabbed her mouth, and began to retch once more. By now, she'd fully expelled the contents of her stomach, so only acid came up her throat. Oh. Watching her unfortunate friend out of the corner of her eye, Amane squat down next to their car and checked the conditions of its tires. S tires like these were designed for racing, but they had a nasty tendency to lose their grip entirely when they got worn out.
大丈夫。タイヤはまだ生きてる。いい感じに熱が入ってドロドロだよ。そうかい。ついちゃうからね。少々ドロドロだわよ。もう着いたの。何言ってんの？ここからが本番じゃない。嘘でしょ。もう無理。吐いても何も出ないわよ。大丈夫。吐くだけ吐いて辛いのを通り越したら今度はだんだん気持ちよくなってくるから。それってさ、脳がこれ以上はやばいって判断してんじゃないの。ここからならあと30分もかからないからすぐに終わるって。
Just hold on. Just hold on for 30 minutes. Throw up as much as you need to for 30 minutes and then it'll be over. Oh my god.
シルが車が
Had this girl puked out her own brain fluid somehow? For Michiru's sake, she clearly needed to finish this as quickly as possible. Before moving into serious mode, Amane flipped the intercooler sprayer switch, hoping to lower its temperature somewhat. God lord, I see the wrong words. Generally speaking, you always want to keep your battery warm and your motor as cool as possible. Bursts of cooling help keep the air flowing into your engine stay dense, allowing for a greater concentration of oxygen in the air-fuel mixture, regaining you some of the power you'd lost due to heat. That said, engines tended to return to their normal temperature within a few minutes of being cooled, so this sort of procedure was only marginally useful. But Amane always thought the acceleration felt a bit more responsive for a while afterward, so it wasn't something she could totally dismiss. After one quick final check of the car's condition, she glanced at her watch. 23 minutes were left. Even for Amane, getting past this mountain in that amount of time wasn't going to be easy.
というわけでここからは本気で行くよ。
Just strap in, hold on, and pray to God.
本気ってじゃあ今までのは何だったの。今までっていうか私隣に人を乗せて本気で走るのはこれが初めてだよ。
Gee, I wonder why.
大丈夫なの。信じてもらうしかないかな。まあホームコースだし大丈夫でしょ。
Oh, it should be fine. Before Amane came to Mihama, she was helping out her family with their business. She'd always taken this exact road over the mountain to pick up eggs from a poultry farm on the other side. Back then, her best time with the restaurant's mini truck was 27 minutes and 32.07 seconds. Based on that, they just weren't going to make it. But even so, behind the wheel of this car, she was definitely going to manage somehow. The X4 had been designed from the ground up to complete. I think they meant to put compete, not complete. Compete in rally races on public roads. And for some time after its debut, nothing could compare to its power. Amane had the greatest possible confidence in it. Although it didn't weigh any more than your average mini truck, it was packing an engine with some genuine horsepower. Yeah, trust me, and then funeral CG. And Sosuke's mom from Ponyo driving when then they would fake it in time. And unlike the 8-ply tires you'd find on an average mini truck, it was equipped with road-legal S tires ideal for high-speed maneuvering. Firmly fastening her 4-point harness and pressing her hips against the back of her seat, Amane switched herself into time attack mode. Oh my god.
3、2、1、0、スタート。
Synchronizing with the countdown on her tachymeter, the phone sitting on her dashboard, she waited for the second hand to hit 0, then began the race. A sudden burst of power sent them shooting forward. Some of it escaped to either side, making the X4's frame tremble and groan. As the car accelerated explosively, its 4 shallow-treaded, high-performance tires tore at the road's surface. And when she turned the steering wheel, Amane sensed through her seat that its weight had shifted onto the outer rear tire. The pure road rage of Ponyo's mom during the flood is forever imprinted in my memory. Sosuke's mom, right? Okay. Woman was on a mission. Just from the way the car moved, she could tell the exact condition of every tire. Ponyo's mom was like, "Big fish lady, shouldn't fit in a car." I mean, it's gotta push hard enough and anyone can fit. Very impractical for a getaway driver. Pretty good for a distraction driver. They're gonna be, everyone's, before they can even go for who they actually want, they're gonna turn their heads and look at, is that a fish in a car? How did they fit? It felt as if her brain was melting, but not in a bad way. For Suo Amane, acceleration was something like a narcotic. Oh my, she's getting the racing high. As a baby, she'd sat on her father's knee and reveled in the speed of his car. A part of her mind associated the sound of an engine with the comfort of her mother's womb. That is quite the sentence. The faster she went, the closer she felt to heaven. It was an it was an ecstatic and oddly soothing feeling. Amane had spent a good deal of time behind the wheel of a front-heavy mini-truck with a painfully short wheelbase and very little in the way of power. But if nothing else, coping with its floppy chassis and unforgiving handling had taught her how to precisely control the distribution of weight across her tires. And of course, she'd driven this... Okay. Just a sensor alert. Make that cleared. Of course, she'd driven this road countless times under all possible conditions. She knew every curve and quirk like the back of her hand. When you threw in a genuinely powerful, maneuverable car like this one, it was almost unfair to everyone else, honestly.
やっぱターボってすごいな。足もしっとりしててよく動く。無駄に硬いだけの足より姿勢が作りやすい。
The key to success lay in this early uphill section, where her technical skills could gain her a few precious seconds here and there. It would essentially decide her total time. The second half was downhill with a lot of straightaways, so the power of her car would be the only relevant factor. She had to gain as much time as she possibly could before that. After barreling through a sharp right turn at the top of third gear, she threw the car into fourth while approaching the first checkpoint, a small store that sold general goods to campers. She'd gotten through the first section more than 4 seconds ahead of her best mini-truck time. The next problem was a small jumping spot just past the bridge over the Ryogoku River. Blah, blah. If you're going too fast when you hit that point, all 4 of your wheels would leave the road and you'd end up losing speed. Better to ease up on the throttle instead. Apart from hairpin turns, she didn't allow her tires to slide around. No reason to let any power escape to the side when it could be pushing you forward instead. She knows her shit with driving. She knows her shit. By the next checkpoint, a vending machine by the local liquor store, she'd gained another 2.5 seconds. A very nice pace. She could do this. But just as Amane was thrilling at the prospect of victory, the tail of another car appeared a little ways in front of her. Oh no. Oh no. No. Oh my god. It's a different car, but this is the same fucking guy Yuji hijacked from and made him drive. This dude's got another fucking foreign sports car. The vehicle in question was a Bugatti Biron. By all accounts, the single most powerful super sports car in the world. As for the man driving this internationally famous machine, for the purposes of this episode, let's give him the name Beaknose. God only knows what exactly this individual did for a living. But he routinely purchased the most powerful cars he possibly could out of a rather inane desire to arrive at his friends' parties as quickly as humanly possible. Except for the time where he lost both the party and the turkey. And then the second time when they kind of sort of maybe forced him into the passenger seat so Amane could drive the car. Beaknose has the worst possible timing with these parties and driving. He'd only recently gotten his hands on the godlike, incredibly expensive monster he was currently driving. Naturally enough, he'd been on Cloud 9 for weeks. She's gonna get into a street race with this fucker. In short, having obtained this divine gift, the beak-nosed man was totally drunk on its power. Just a moment ago, he'd noticed a small family car on the road behind him. Although he was trying not to use too much gasoline or wear out his tires, the man was still moving at a very decent clip. So when he glanced in the rearview mirror and saw that unassuming little vehicle approaching, he was understandably dumbfounded. Oh my god. On even the briefest of straightaways, all you had to do was press down on the accelerator and the Byron would accelerate as much as you wanted. On Japan's narrow highways, however, you couldn't keep the accelerator all the way down for even a single second. The next corner would be right in front of you in the blink of an eye. This was an ungodly expensive car, and it had power in proportion to its cost. Beaknose's confidence was absolute. Yet, there it is, I see the other car in the back. Certain that he'd left the small interloper far behind, he glanced into his mirror, only to find the distance between them had actually shrunk. He could feel the hairs on the back of his neck standing up. For some reason, every time he went around a corner, it was getting closer and closer. How could a granny-mobile like that be chasing down a Byron? It didn't make the slightest damn sense. Byron bananas. God. Byron sounds like a pretentious name. Reality was bearing steadily down on him, but it was difficult for Beaknose to accept. Whenever he touched the brake pedal to approach a corner, the endearing grilled face of the X4 grew larger and larger in his rearview mirror. Its driver was taking advantage of the car's low weight to hit the brakes much later than him, more than compensating for their difference in horsepower. Deja. She's gonna fucking drift around him. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna absolutely be amazing. Beaknose had forgotten one crucial advantage that any motor vehicle could possess: the nimbleness of a featherweight. By smugly assuming that expensive technology could render him invincible, the man had invited his own doom. To Beaknose, the dark green vehicle in the rearview mirror was no longer just a car. It was a Mitsubishi A6M fighter plane on the tail of his Fu-4 Corsair, an enemy he couldn't shake off no matter how he squirmed. Why the fuck are you... Whatever, dude. You decided to compare yourself to World War II fighter jets. No, fighter planes. Sorry, they weren't jets then. They were just planes. See, it's perhaps a Tokyo trip. Ah. Good one. A Zero was riding his ass. For Beaknose, who'd grown up hearing his American grandfather's stories about his days as a fighter pilot, the thought was enough to fill him with absolute terror. A trickle of cold sweat ran down his spine. In combination with the psychological pressure bearing down on him, it slowed his reaction time slightly. With the next corner approaching far too quickly, Beaknose hurriedly slammed on his brakes. The pedal vibrated beneath his feet as the electronic ABS activated. When he finally moved his steering wheel, the Byron obediently turned its nose inward, but it was already too late. In the very next instant, the dark green Zero had pushed its goofy little snout into the slight gap he'd left on the inside of the curve. It's everyone's go-to karaoke song, but you're not allowed to say tequila. I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't actually done karaoke like at all. No true karaoke at all, so I don't even have a preferred song. I'm also really self-conscious about singing in general. Like, really self-conscious about singing. Because honestly, I don't really have a singing voice. I really don't have a singing voice. Like, just not at all. I try to avoid singing as much as I can. The best you'll get out of me is a happy birthday to people. Damn, not even Cruel Angel's Thesis. Yes, let me just sing in fucking Japanese for you. That'll go incredibly well. I can barely read English and you expect me to sing in Japanese? Clear some of these announcements. That is known. Perfect. Honestly, this isn't hard if you don't care about getting any of the words right. Yeah, even then, I'm just very self-conscious about singing in general. Even if I get the words wrong, it's just... I don't know. It's how it is. It's like the one bit of stage fright I still can't get over. Talking in front of a crowd, I can easily do that. Talking on camera and doing stupid shit, I can still do that pretty well. But singing, that's another thing. That's just a whole other thing. Mine's Bitch I'm a Cow by Bitch I'm a Cow. Oh, that was... Just as these words left Beaknose's mouth, he heard a rush of exhaust from the X4's wastegate as the driver changed gears. The sound was very, very close. Oh no! I'm right next to me! Oh my god! There, I made him sound like a sniveling prick. The Byron had only just changed its bearing. And given its unusual body, Beaknose didn't have a precise sense of how much space there was between the two vehicles. The fear of a high-speed collision left his hands frozen on the wheel. Once again, he was forced to slam down on the brakes, this time even harder than before. The Byron speedometer needle dropped rapidly. In the flash of an eye, the dark green devil slipped ruthlessly past him. It felt as if a murderous creature had lunged by with an awful smirk on its face, after swinging a bloody knife at his throat. His will to fight utterly broken, Beaknose sat like a statue in his luxurious seat. For a moment, he managed to swallow. After a moment, he managed to swallow. The adrenaline had drained from his body and shivers were running down his spine. His foot eased off the accelerator. Slowly and quietly, he pulled over into the shoulder. Yeah, Amane won. I implore you to listen to it. To listen to Bitch I'm a Cow. As his hands left the steering wheel, he realized they were trembling. It felt as if he had just awoken from a terrible nightmare. But he knew the truth. That devilish thing, the dark green zero, was all too real. He'd met a monster and survived. His mind was full of both relief and terror. Wrapping his arms tightly around his leather steering wheel, Beaknose leaned forward and quietly wept. Fucking mind broke the goddamn guy.
セーブしないんだからね。
Like, holy shit. Oh, good. We did go to another scene. We are now 26% of the way through the entire game. God damn. That's it. I'm moving to Cali. Enjoy the wildfires. Enjoy the earthquakes. That was a lot to get through before a save. Yeah, I don't save nearly as often as I probably should, even in RPGs. I need to save more in, like, every game, ever. I wait too damn long. But, yeah, is what it is. We all good. Yeah, 26% of the way through the entire story now. What's the percent?
シナリオ進行度の確認なんてしないんだからね。
Yeah, 26%. So we're a quarter of the way through. A quarter of the way. We got a lot to do. But I am going to save more of that for later. When is later? When is later? Tomorrow. Tomorrow at 6 will be later. And now I did mention, at the partway through stream here, I am changing the schedule a bit for this week. I am going to change the schedule a bit for this week. I'll update it accordingly in Discord and have the proper new one up for you guys tomorrow. But, so tomorrow stays the same. Still Eden of Grisaia. I am changing both of the Pokemon days. So we're not going to start Pokemon Emerald this week. Saturday, I'm going to make it another stream of Eden. I'm going to do another Eden of Grisaia stream Saturday. Starting at good old 6 o'clock as per usual. Sunday, though, I will be streaming with Mari as part of her birthday countdown. So 7:30 on Sunday, we are going to be playing Little Nightmares 3. So yeah, just as part of a countdown toward her birthday. She asked if I wanted to do something to be available, and we're doing Little Nightmares 3 because that game's co-op. She's got the game, so I just give you the front pass. So you get to see two scaredy cats try to play a game that's scary. That'll be fun. That's gonna be fun. Close that now. So yeah, I'll get this all updated, posted in the Discord, and up here for you guys tomorrow. So it's all, good, set, ready, copacetic. Pokemon Emerald is gonna have to start next week during Variety Week. It'll start during Variety Week now. Yeah, is what it is. At least we're getting more Grisaia this week. More Grisaia is always nice. It'll be fine. It's gonna be fine. That's not foreboding at all. Quote's gonna come up. I think from the last time? I don't know if that was for you or for someone else. Yeah, that tracks. That tracks. I mean, I have an entire command for that, like entire sound alert.
Yes, we all agree. Baron is an idiot.
Well, I don't know what it is, so let's kill it. Oh yeah, Jen, have you heard my other sound
He
redeem?
keeps kicking me in the dick.
Not that one.
Why? Why does he keep kicking me in the dick?
I have another channel point redeemable one. Right beside Baron is what? Baron is a what? So, enjoy.
Baron! You're a cunt!
I have a fucking... Yep, a cunt. I have a sound redeem of my Kamiyoshi calling me a cunt because it was part of a redeem wheel. And I asked, can I use this sound? And she's like, go for it. Now I got two commands. No, two redeems. One calling me an idiot, one calling me a cunt. Oh, because Mario would call me so much worse. She has called me so much worse. Huh? Sorry, I just kind of opened my... like, browser here, and I all of a sudden get a guest announcement for Anime North. 2 people from Studio Trigger? Yeah, 2 people from Studio Trigger. They just announced that just happened. Okay. They're really going for it with this 30th Anime North. Like, they've had some pretty good animators and people so far. And now just Studio Trigger. Yeah, I can replace that. Good lord, of course it's tiny. Yeah, just there it is. Guest announcement for Anime North as of 45 minutes ago. Two people. So that's exciting. Actually, pretty exciting. They had some pretty good guests so far. I'm more excited for Gary Chalk, the voice of Optimus Primal, because it's Beast Wars, and I liked Optimus Primal. I'll get his autograph and put it up right next to Trevor Duvall's. Could have rocked the Rebecca cosplay again. Did you ever end up fixing the gun? 'Cause didn't it, like, kind of break or melt a bit? Yeah, North's got interesting again. Okay. No one really else announced yet. Every few days they are announcing more. They still got 28 days to go, so there could be a lot more guests showing up. Oh, maybe there's... Ah. Okay, it's not even... Their thing isn't even fully updated yet. Like 8 voice actor guests, which is really good. 2 of them Japanese voice actresses. A mother-daughter duo. Like, they've had some good people so far. They got some pretty good people so far. I think it's going to be a really good North this year. You know, I mean, it's the 30th anniversary, so it's got to be good. Should be good. It's 30 years of doing this Canadian anime convention. Oh, it melted. Did not fix it. It was spraying in the head. Haven't been to a con since. Ah, fair. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Fixing a melted gun would not be on the priority list for sure. Okay, I think that should be everything for us tonight. I don't think I got anything else. Thanks for stopping in, being able to show up. I'm glad things aligned for that to happen. And I definitely did. I definitely enjoyed it. No real bitrate issues like last time I streamed Grisaia. Funny as shit stuff with everything happening. Mostly Michiru. Oh god, I love Grisaia. Grisaia is like almost always a good time. I mean, even when it's like literally making me cry, it's still a good time. But that's gonna be it for me for tonight. So yeah, thank you again, everybody, for watching, commenting, lurking, and resubscribing. Appreciate it really, really, really much. Very much, really much. The bad grammar are me. Yeah. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow at 6 for some more Eden of Grisaia. I hope everybody has themselves a great rest of their night. And I'll see you next time, and hopefully learn to speak English better. I'm really bad at speaking and reading at the same time.